Hi guys, my name is Eric, and I'm here to show you an MTGA deck that I've been playing. It is called Temur Adventures. Now, we've seen a lot of adventures in Standard recently since Thrones have dropped, mostly in green-black or green-white variants. This is my Temur list, so we got the blue and the red instead of the black or the white. And there are some fun options here. So the main theme of the deck obviously is, playing adventure cards. So we've got 4 Edgewell Innkeepers, 4 Lucky Clovers, which you don't always necessarily see. But I would say in this deck, Lucky Clover tends to be better than Edgewell Innkeeper. I believe in the other decks the opposite is true, because we're casting a lot of our adventures actually. So we've got 4 Fae of Witches, which we're often casting the granted side of it. We've got 4 Brazen Borrowers, we've got 4 Bone Crusher Giants, 3 Lovestruck Beasts, and 4 Beanstalk Giants. Now, the Flaxen Intruders, these are kind of we're not always casting this on the adventure side. A lot of the time we're just cycling it because it's cheap, and this is kind of a flex spot in the deck, I would say. If I had more Once Upon a Times in MTGA, I know I would probably be playing them. But as for now, our deck is 2 Flaxen Intruders, and they're fine. They're good with our Wish board, specifically the Great Henge, just as another way to cycle them. And then, let's see, as for our non-adventure package, we've got 4 Gilded Goose, 3 Oko. Now, this is just probably our best turn 1, turn 2 play, the classic, and it gives, it actually has a lot of play with the deck in terms of, we can make tokens with Lovestruck Beast and turn them into Elk. We can just, if we need to, turn our Lucky Clovers into Elks and swing, even our other 1/1s or small creatures, and it's just good. Obviously, at this point, I don't need to really elaborate on how good Oko is as a card. As for our mana base, it's a little loose, I would say. 4 Breeding Pool, I think, is a must. Some amount of off-color shocks are fine. We're only playing red for our Bone Crusher Giants in the main, and quite a few sideboard cards, which we'll get to the Wish board in a second. We have 4 Fabled Passage. These have been pretty good, especially with the sort of... I'm incentivized to run a lot of basics in the first place with Beanstalk Giant, and we'll get to some of the combos with that as well. But for now, this is our mana base. I'm running, 23 lands. I tend to not really have any sort of flooding issues. There's a lot of draw and redraw and a lot of play to the deck where we're often getting a lot of mana, and we never really run out of cards with the way Lucky Clover interacts with Fae of Wishes and our Edgewell Innkeepers, and just having the adventures in general. There's a lot to throw our mana at. So taking a look at the sideboard here, I've been playing this deck quite a bit, and so this sideboard has been evolving over the course of my play. As you can see, it is pretty much a dedicated Wish board, except for these 2 Pause for Reflections. You could do a lot with this Wish board. There are a lot of options, a lot of good cards in these colors to choose from in this standard. I'll say that I really like probably all but a few cards in here that I'm attached to about 12 of these, I would say. There are a few that are a little flexy, like this extra Pause for Reflection. I just put this Once in Future in, and I find myself wanting to cast a lot of my Wish cards again in the more grindy matchups. So I put this in just to be able to grab, say, my Chandra again once it dies or once my opponent kills it, or Mass Manipulation again. So we'll start with sort of the cards that I end up grabbing the most when I'm playing this deck. Another thing about my Wish board before we get into that is, so when Lucky Clover is on the field, you can grab 2, cards from your sideboard, which is really powerful in a lot of situations. And a lot of the times I find myself having 2 Lucky Clovers on the field or 3. So being able to grab these Haymaker cards in super grindy matchups where these very powerful effects are even better, it's been really strong. So most of the time I end up grabbing Fling and Expansion Explosion if I have a Lucky Clover on the field. And I have a Beanstalk Giant set up. I would say this is how I win maybe a third of my games. The lines look about, turn 2 Lucky Clover, turn 3 Beanstalk Giant, copy it to then, I have the option of copying a Bone Crusher Giant Stomp or Petty Theft. And then eventually I get to a point where I land a Beanstalk Giant, and then the next turn I play Brazen Borrower or Fae of Wishes Granted, grab Fling, grab Expansion, and fling the giant and copy it and kill him. Sounds a little janky, sounds a little memey. It's actually been really good. I've been playing against a lot of, for reference, by the way, I don't really play much MTGA in terms of like keeping up with the competitive stuff, pretty much just since Thrones dropped, but what's my rank? I'm Plat 2 in Constructed. I think that's okay. I don't really know what these tiers look like. I'm getting close to Diamond-ish. Okay. I would say I win more than I lose. I haven't been keeping a detailed record or anything of my games, but I certainly win more than I lose against a wide field of decks. I haven't really come across a deck where I feel like I don't have a fighting chance. I feel pretty strong against aggro. Feel pretty strong against the variety of combo or control-y grindy matchups, including Jeskai Fires, the Stacks deck, various control decks, Golos decks. Unfortunately, I would say the Golos decks are one of my tougher matchups because Field of the Dead is pretty hard to deal with. There aren't really a lot of good... I wish there was like some sort of silver bullet card I could grab from my sideboard and just say, screw you, Field of the Dead, but there doesn't really seem to be that sort of option, at least in these colors. Got Fling, and we've got Expansion Explosion. I grab those most of the time if I have the potential for like a kill setup. A lot of the time I'm grabbing the Great Henge if I don't have like a kill setup. The reason for the Great Henge, so a lot of my creatures are kind of beefy, including we've got Beanstalk Giant, makes it pretty much 2 mana for the Great Henge. We've got Lovestruck Beast, makes the Great Henge just 4 mana. Bone Crusher Giant makes it 5 mana. All great value. And I have a lot of creatures in this deck, so, being able to land the Great Henge and then just completely outgrind my opponent with all the redraw that happens, it's pretty sick. It's I've been looking for a card over the course of playing this where I just want to play it if I know the game's going to go long and I just need to outgrind. Like, I'm in a winning position and I just need to grind, so that's been really nice. I grab Chandra pretty frequently. Control matchups, just a board wipe, just like a versatile card, can't be countered, is super relevant. Just something where I need to, like, if they're playing board wipes and I know my creature plan isn't going to get through, I grab Chandra and I just start rolling her up, Mass Manipulation has been really good against the Jeskai Fires deck. When they play a bunch of Planeswalkers or any other deck really that's mostly I'm taking Planeswalkers because this deck deals with creatures pretty well in the main board with the Bone Crusher Giants and the Brazen Borrowers and just having a lot of creatures on the field. And so this is kind of our Planeswalker answer. Can be a little tough to cast with the quadruple blue, but Beanstalk Giant and Gilded Goose along with our Fabled Passages kind of helps set that up. As for some other cards, a lot of the time I'm grabbing Veil of the Summer, depending on the matchup. Obviously, it's really good when it's good in those blue or black matchups to protect a creature against like a Murderous Rider, or protect my Beanstalk Giant from being countered or something like that. Return to Nature, just a solid card, versatile card. Most of the time I've been grabbing this against the Stacks deck or the Jeskai Fires deck, depending on the situation. Sorcerer Spyglass, solid card. Really not a reason to have to not have this in the sideboard, I think. Can just answer problematic planeswalkers, essentially. Another planeswalker answer. The 2 Pause for Reflection. So I've been finding that when I play Pause for Reflection, a lot of the time I'm actually playing it in the Golos matchup. When I'm trying to, they have a bunch of zombies on the field, and I'm trying to set up a kill, but it takes some time, some amount of turns. One Pause for Reflection has been really solid, but it hasn't been doing enough for me, and I feel like when I want Pause for Reflection, I want more than one. So I've kind of got this 2 Pause for Reflection, 1 Once in Future package, where I can have some amount of turns to set up, say, like replaying my Fae of Wishes granted part, and setting up like an Expansion Explosion Fling combo. So this just, it's kind of like the get out of jail free card, where, hey, like it can steal losing games, essentially. Ashiok Dreamrender, a lot of the time I'm playing this against the Stacks deck to help prevent their Dance of the Man situation. And, you know, there are some matchups where they're going to deck themselves and you just need an answer, or something to help speed that along, rather. Ral is a little iffy. So Ral, I'm not usually grabbing this card, and this is one of the first that I would like to cut. He can be kind of cool. This is kind of a relic of when I was playing this deck as a 1,000-Year Storm deck, and now it's more so transitioned into like a toolbox, mid-range grind deck, essentially. This card, I'm just gonna cut right now. Honestly, I don't grab it pretty much any time. Sometimes I grab it just to deal with some planeswalkers, or just to play a thing. Like I need a thing on the board. But it's not very exciting. Flood of Tears has been pretty good. It lets me bounce everything, obviously, and then often just replay a giant or something, have the biggest thing on the board. So let's go ahead and actually figure out something for our wish board to replace that Ral. Now, the thing about it, obviously, is it's got to be a non-creature, so I could consider a land. Land would be kind of interesting. There have been some situations that may be relevant. Experimental Frenzy is always interesting. I wonder if this is actually, like, worth considering. When you just need gas, and you don't have, fuck it. That sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Make sure it goes in the sideboard. All right. Cards not in my collection. What are you talking about? How'd that get in there? Okay. So enough talk. Let's play some games. Let's boot it up. We'll just play some traditional standard. One thing to mention about the traditional standard situation, because I have such a dedicated wish board, most of the time I don't sideboard. I mean, rather, I never sideboard. So that's fun. That's fun getting to skip that step. I don't know if it's correct. I'm not the best player, but I am. I do have fun with that. So I get to go first. At first glance, this hand is not my favorite. So we have some options. We do have turn 1, Lovestruck Beast, turn 2, Do Nothing, turn 3, Beanstalk. It's kind of slow. And we certainly can have faster opening hands, and I typically keep a hand with Lucky Clover if I can find it. This doesn't really check off my boxes, so I'm just going to go ahead and mulligan. This hand's looking a lot better. So we have turn 1 Goose, turn 2 Lucky Clover, Lovestruck Beast or Brazen Borrower. Once upon a time's like fine. I don't know if it's necessary to keep it in this hand, so I might get rid of it just because I already like what I have. But getting rid of Lovestruck Beast is also an option. Kind of depends on the matchup. Going in blind, I think I'm just going to get rid of Once Upon a Time. We'll go Forest, we'll go Gilded Goose, make a food, and we'll pass. So next turn we're looking at Lucky Clover, which lets us make 2 humans. This is probably one of my lowest impact adventure cards, but it's solid. So we're going to pay 2 life for our breeding pool. Opponent played Temple of Mystery. We're going to slam that Lucky Clover. And do we just run out these 2/2s? I think we do, just to get some pressure going. So we'll sacrifice a food token. Make some dudes. And we're off to the races. Temple of Mystery could be a lot of decks, so we'll see. I'm assuming it's probably something a little slower, unless it's the flash deck. Them leaving the untapped mana makes me think it is something along the flash deck. They could have Growth Spiral or something like that, but I think it's probably more likely that this is flash, just based on my intuition. So we'll just go ahead and swing. Now, really the worst thing that can happen here if it's flash is they're going to flash in the Wildborn Preserver, I think it's called. The new flash guy from Thrones. It's just a 2/2 with some added text. And they could chump or kill a human. Once Upon a Time. Okay. Pretty positive this is flash now. I don't know if those ramp decks are playing Once Upon a Time, and flash plays a lot of those creatures. Maybe it's Sultai flash. Yep, here we go. Wildborn Preserver. We'll let it resolve. So Brazen Borrower is kind of weird with Lucky Clover. This is one of my least favorite interactions in this deck. So many times being able to bounce a ton of stuff is good. 2 things is good. 3, 4, whatever. But if there's just one thing on the field, less things on the field than I'm able to bounce, the copies will resolve before the actual spell. And if the actual Petty Theft spell doesn't resolve, it gets countered because there are no legal targets. I don't get to cast the Brazen Borrower. It doesn't get to actually go on an adventure. It won't go to my exile. It'll go to my graveyard because it's countered. So we'll just let this happen. It's not a huge deal. I don't really feel incentivized to hold up Brazen Borrower. I meant to play that untapped. Okay. Well, I guess that changes our game plan. Let's just hold up Brazen Borrower then. And then if they don't have 2 things on the field, which they likely won't because it's flash, they're going to want to play at instant speed, I'll just make a food token, which is not the end of the world. Okay. Tyrant Scorn. Destroy target creature with converted mana cost 3 less. That is a-okay with me. Okay. Beanstalk Giant, sick. I don't know if it's the right card to play right now. It does let me hold up. So the lands come into play untapped. So I can search for my red mana for when I eventually need it, and a blue mana, hold up Brazen Borrower's Petty Theft adventure, and then bounce some stuff. I don't think it's likely that he's going to play another guy. I mean, he could play a Spectral Sailor, but I think I'm just going to play a Lovestruck Beast just for the added pressure, the blocking. I think this is bigger than a lot of the creatures in Blue-Green Flash, including the Wolf. So I think this is just the way to go. Swings for 1 in the air. That's fine. Nothing we can do about that. So he's holding up Wolf Mana and the Frilled Mystic. So we're going to go ahead and just swing with our 5/5. Takes it. That is A-okay. So now we have some options. Obviously playing another Lucky Clover is kind of sick for these effects, but this is sort of a tempo game. I'm not trying to run my Lucky Clover into a Frilled Mystic. We could just play Beanstalk Giant, the Fertile Footsteps adventure, and hold up Brazen Borrower. I'm a little worried that he would definitely counter this. Option B or C, we play Gilded Goose and then hold up the Petty Theft. I kind of like that option the best. We're running on board right now. I think he really wants to get a wolf down, and if he just casts it, I will bounce it during his turn. So we'll just play Gilded Goose. And we'll say go. Brineborn Cutthroat, okay. Does he pay mana to put counters on? No. Does he have another Brineborn Cutthroat? Tyrant Scorn. That's interesting. One thing about Brazen Borrower, I can't bounce my own thing, which would be an option here. I would love to target this and target something else. He's got 2 cards left in hand, and I'm almost wondering if it's worth just firing off this Petty Theft right now. Obviously, pretty easily gets to replay these. Putting a counter on that. My other alternative option is bouncing it on his turn, which is a better use of... I would love for him to be tapped out on my turn, is what I'm saying. If he wants to counter my bounce effect. Yeah, let's go ahead and let this resolve. I'm just going to, when he moves to combat on his turn, fire off my Brazen Borrower bounce effect. Okay, I like that. I like that he has land. Pass. So I don't think he's going to counter this, but he might. Okay. So he did counter 1. I still get to copy it, which is pretty sick, so I'm still just going to bounce that Brineborn Cutthroat and slow him down a bit. Groovy. Unfortunately, my Brazen Borrower is for reals dead this time. Okay, so we're just going to play a land. We're going to play the Lucky Clover, and we're going to go on an adventure. Sacrificing food token. And we get to pull a bunch of lands. Let's just go ahead and get double red while we're at it in case we do end up on some sort of Chandra line. And then our green is fine, so let's get another blue mana. Can't cast the giant yet, but that will be coming. I'm not in a great spot, truth be told. He's got more cards than I do. And, oh, he just shocked himself, so we must have Wolf or Frilled Mystic in hand. No blocks this turn. We'll see if he... Okay. He's going to put a bunch of counters on Wildborn Preserver. That's interesting. I didn't expect that. I don't think it is a huge issue because I do have the opportunity to chump still. But he is coming in strong. That's not a bad draw. Okay. So we have 8 mana. I kind of like holding up a food token. I can't play the giant and activate the food token. Arguably, I should have sacked it last turn, but I think we're just going to run out this giant, and if I can, I'll block the Wildborn Preserver with the giant. If it's still just a 6/6, I mean, he probably won't swing in that case. Otherwise, I'll just chump it and kill something else. He's got another Wildborn Preserver. All right. Oko's not a great answer to this card, just on account of the counters will remain. So I'll just go ahead and chump. I'm not going to fall for his known trap. Okay. So that's pretty good. This lets us clear his board and almost kill him. Do we have lethal, actually? So we can ping, ping, ping. He can put a counter on this, but that's not enough. And then we can turn our Lucky Clover into a creature. Okay, we don't have lethal, but we're really putting him into a bad spot here. Okay, well, now he just dies. He definitely shouldn't have drawn a card. He needed to block my giant. Rip. That was a goof. All right, now moving on to sideboard. So we do have a lot of options for cards to bring in, but we're just going to hit done. And we're ready. So that went pretty well. I think he goofed. I think I was winning anyway because he would have had to flash in the Preserver and Chump just to survive. And then the next turn, following up, I would have played Oko, made probably just one of my Clovers into a 3/3 Elk, have double blockers, including the bird and the Elk, and then swung in again, just relentlessly with the giant. So that Bone Crusher Giant, definitely a great draw. But I actually had a lot of good draws, including the Fae of Wishes, Brazen Borrower would have been good. Okay. This is a good hand. We've got our mana. We've got a Lucky Clover, and we've got an Oko. We're just going to keep this. Oh, Once Upon a Time's a good draw. So I think we want to fire this off. You don't always want to fire this off on just turn one, but if we get a goose, that really sets us up well. Okay. We have some colors. We have an Edgewall Innkeeper, which is okay. Actually, I think Edgewall Innkeeper is really good here. So we're going to take that and we're going to play it on turn one. So we have options. Because we're against the flash deck, well, let's list our options first. So we can make a human, probably not considering that. Hold up this, play a Lucky Clover, or just play the 1/4 Flyer side and draw a card. I think I like that the best. We need another land, and it's actually just not a bad creature to have on the field. We're not going to swing because this is the flash deck. I would actually trade that, if I would assume I wouldn't want him to block my Innkeeper with a Preserver, but I think I would definitely trade a Cutthroat for an Innkeeper. Okay, Breeding Pool, pretty good. Let's just play Oko. How does Tyrant Scorn read? Okay. For some reason, I thought that was Counterspell. I think I'm thinking Drown in the Lock. I doubt he's playing Drown in the Lock. I don't... He could just have a Counterspell, like a Quench or something for my Oko. I think I'm just going to play Oko. Let's see what he does. Okay. Not the end of the world. We have another Oko. I'm not going to attack because I like to hold up Fae of Wishes for this block here. Cool. All right. And do we run back the Oko? Do we have another game plan? Honestly, I'd like to stick a Lucky Clover if possible. I'd like to stick an Oko if possible. What if we just played Gilded Goose and held up Brazen Borrower to bounce this? I kind of like that too. I think if I played Lucky Clover, he would counter it. If he had the option, he could have Sinister Sabotage. I think I'm just going to play a Goose. This kind of helps sets up our Oko a little better with the food token already on the field, or just making my Goose into an Elk. And then if I really wanted to, I could bounce my Fae of Wishes to my hand. But I'm most likely just going to bounce something of his. Spectral Sailor. Okay. We're going to do it on his turn, so if he has a response to it, he doesn't get a counter, and he will be mana restricted for my turn. Quench. Okay. I don't really have a huge issue with that. I'm not going to block here. It's only 4 damage, and the Fae of Wishes can block the Spectral Sailor pretty well. We'll just go ahead and take it. Okay, so we have an opportunity here. We can just play Oko and start swinging. Kind of like that. Put some pressure on. Oko's not very good against his deck for the most part. But it's just a good card in general, obviously. Just like adding the pressure. We could play Lucky Clover and Lovestruck Beast. Make 2 dudes. Let's just go with the Oko plan. Now, something I could do, I could sack the food token to play Gilded Goose and then make that... No, let's just make this one an Elk because it will be able to swing, which we want to do. Actually, no, let's not. Let's hold it up in case he wants to swing again, and I'll happily trade. Now he could flash in something, another Spectral Sailor, or play an Opt end of turn just to put another counter on. If that's the case, we'll, I don't know, chump or something. I don't think it's a huge deal. Not able to swing. Excellent. Has to pass. Okay. Another Innkeeper's great. Let's do this. Let's make a food token. Let's play an Innkeeper. And then if he lets this resolve, we're just going to play Lovestruck Beast and draw 2 cards. Which he did. So we're pretty happy with that. The Innkeepers are 1/1, so they let Lovestruck Beast attack. Drawing 2 cards is pretty sick. I'd like to get some more lands going. Okay, that's a great one. I'm not planning on swinging, so I'm just not. That's why I didn't like attack. That's why I'm just doing this in my first main phase. I don't think it's a huge deal. We like to play fast and loose here. Okay. I've got a lot of stuff on the field. Blue, green flash, Sultai flash has a hard time dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously he could potentially make some wolves, but he seems a little tight on mana right now. Has to grab a breeding pool. But like, are wolves even that good against me right now? I could actually just make his main wolf a 3/3. Oh god, Oko's dumb. I could take control of his Spectral Sailor, which helps cut him off a little more. I don't think he's going to counter this, so I'm just going to play it. Oh, he does counter it. I don't think that's a huge deal. Nothing I can do there. I think I'm going to take control of the Spectral Sailor, because I like the sound of having a good mana dump like that. Plus it lets me start getting in the air. So we'll go ahead and grab that guy. We'll just give him a food token. Enjoy. And then I think I'm just going to grab a mountain. Even though I have this goose in my hand, I don't want to have to rely on having a food token for my mana fixing. So I probably should have swung with the Lovestruck Beast, but I don't think it's a huge deal. Okay, another Innkeeper. That's actually pretty neat. I don't really have like a good follow-up play to it. I can't cast the Giant quite yet. I could just make a food token and cast the Giant. I think that's probably the way to go. I already have 2 of these in the field. If he counters it, I'm still getting the draws. It's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and swing first. No, actually I missed my window to swing because now he's mana open. So let's just do that. Draw a couple cards. Feeling pretty good. I feel like at this point, there's really not a ton he can do. I've just reached this critical mass of I'm winning on board. I'm winning in the hand now. And, oh, I forgot he countered my Lucky Clover. I can fly in and get some damage in. Like, I'm pretty sure he's kind of toast. Yeah, play a wolf. That's fine. I just have chumps for days. I have reach. I have a lot more card draw. Play this. Play a couple more of these. I'd say things are coming up, Eric. Passes the turn. He shocked himself, which I think is a little interesting. I don't know what he could be doing with 5 mana. I don't think Syncopate is still in Standard. Maybe he has another Spectral Sailor and another Wolf or something along those lines. Okay. I don't think there's a huge reason to start getting cute with a Wish board. That's a kind of big mana investment for just 1 card. I don't think we have like a silver bullet here. I think we just kind of want to play another Innkeeper and start drawing our deck, essentially. And then we can piece together, once we get some clovers in the field, start just burning his face. That's kind of my game plan. And bounce his board. Let's go ahead and just make the wolf a 3/3. And we'll keep getting in the air. And we'll hold up the mana to draw a card or make some food, or we have a lot of instant speed interaction now, so. Or even just play a Brazen Borrower and draw a bunch of cards. I don't know what his plan of attack is. I'm kind of not sure why he hasn't scooped. I pretty much have, yeah, okay. Cool. Game 1 down. I don't know how many games we're going to play. Up to Plat Tier 2. The water. We'll just jump back into it. Amuleti. I don't know. Okay. 4 lands, Lucky Clover, Once Upon a Time, Fave Wishes. Not the best hand, but I'm really inclined to keep any hand with Lucky Clover. The advantage that this card generates over the course of a game, even like just turn 2 Lucky Clover, turn 2 Giant, find 2 lands, is really good. Obviously, that's not where the value ends, but like the ramp and tempo of that play, being able to go turn 2 Clover, turn 2 Stomp, double Stomp, kill some stuff, like, this hand's fine. Once Upon a Time lets us find one of those power creatures where I really want that adventure. This guy plays Once Upon a Time. Plus we have Fave Wishes eventually, and grabbing 2 things from my sideboard is always nice. Like, this card alone, grabbing 1 thing, it's slow and it doesn't feel awesome. You're not getting any sort of card advantage, but grabbing 2 things is really good. I don't think there's a huge reason to play Once Upon a Time yet. My best grabs are Goose, which Goose isn't like awesome for ramp in this deck, I would say. It's fine, it gets the job done. Another Lucky Clover is really sick. This guy shocked himself. It kind of makes me think he's got a... Based on the Thornwood Falls, I would guess he's going to play a Growth Spiral. And there's really not much we can do about that. I probably should have played that Once Upon a Time before casting this. Didn't think about it. But it's not going to be a huge issue. I'm just going to be playing Lucky Clovers and seeing where this goes. Is it greedy to play 4 Lucky Clovers and try to have as many on the field as I can at once? Yeah, a little bit. But it's also very strong. And hopefully we can demonstrate that. We haven't really shown that much last game, or we didn't really show that much the last game we played. Now, actually, Lovestruck Beast is a really good draw here. It lets us sort of actually have some action going. I think 3 power on turn 3 is respectable, and it's a setup for some powerful pulls from our sideboard here. Field of the Dead. Okay. We're just going to swing. Now we have 2 options. Fave Wishes. Playing the granted side to grab 3 cards from our sideboard. I'm not so sure that there's anything incredibly powerful that we want to grab right now. I kind of like the idea of just going Innkeeper into Lovestruck Beast better, just to start applying some pressure, and we have the eventual setup for grabbing the Great Henge. Oko is a great draw. I'd really like a giant at this point, just to be able to get some more mana going. Okay, so things are kind of coming along for him. Death Touch, Lifelink. Hey, cool. Ask and you shall receive. So we're just going to go ahead and play this. Get our double red online. Let's get another blue mana. Actually, let's get 2 more blue mana. Just in case we want to do some mass manipulation shenanigans. And let's just go ahead and fire this off. We have a lot of options here. In terms of being able to directly deal with the zombies being produced, we do have Flame Sweep, and we do have Chandra and Flood of Tears. In terms of going for some kind of win, he's at 16. Flinging the beast with expansion is 10 damage. Or flinging the giant. I kind of like that, going over the head a little bit. And then we could also grab, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. In case that plan goes awry, we could have some kind of Flood of Tears situation, which lets us replay a lot of stuff in our hand. So we're going to go Flood of Tears and expansion and fling. And we'll not swing. No, we will swing. Because if he trades, if he wants to trade Yarok, that's fine. If he wants to trade 2 zombies in the Risen Reef, that's fine. Lovestruck Beast isn't like a huge part of my plan. I probably should have swung before going to my wish board, but now you can learn from me being an idiot. And maybe I'll learn from me being an idiot eventually someday too. I always wonder what opponents are thinking when I grab Fling and Expansion Explosion. Because it's such a... It really is kind of silly, but it seems to get the job done a lot of the time. Do we have any reason to block here? No, I don't think so. The added potential damage from swinging out is a possible factor, so... I don't like the zombie situation he's got going on. I think next turn it's pretty likely that we're just going to play a giant and pass and hope that he doesn't have any sort of spot removal. And that just sets us up for the kill, really. Well, not exactly the kill. I guess our giant's not ginormous, but it certainly sets us up for something. I almost wonder if we Flood of Tears. It lets us plop something down. So something to consider for next time. If I plan on going the Flood of Tears route, it's pretty good to grab like a Chandra or something. Because then I have the 4 permanents on the field and then plop down Chandra on an open board, which is always nice. We have 8 mana this turn. We have 2 Lucky Clovers on the field. I think we're pretty much in a position where we're kind of forced to either Flood of Tears or grab Flame Sweep from the side. Or we could get into a situation where we're just preventing combat damage for turns and then set up that fling. I actually kind of like that. Let's do that because I actually really haven't done that a ton, so I'm kind of curious to know how that sort of plays out in this situation. So we're just going to grab 2 Pause for Reflections. And I think we're going to grab... let's grab the Once in Future. We'll play our land for turn. We'll play an Oko. And we're going to make his Golos a nothing. Alright. Pause for Reflection, the Convoke has always been super relevant for me. Just being able to tap out and then pay for it with my creatures. Great. So just looking at this alone, I have 4 turns where he is just being walled or fogged, you know. So this allows us to play Beanstalk Giant next turn and then set up the kill, right? It's a little rude. I would say it's a little rude, but I'm pretty sure he's probably not packing main deck counter magic, so this should just play out fine. Agent of Treachery. This card's pretty annoying. He might take Oko. I don't think that's the end of the world. Oh, and Lovestruck Beast, possibly. I don't love that, actually, taking the Oko. Lucky Clover's kind of weird. I don't think that's the end of the world. Because I don't like the idea of him making my Giant a 3/3, but maybe there's some other way to set up a kill here. Okay. Other options, we could play the Fave Wishes and start grabbing more stuff from our sideboard. If we pause for reflection into our, or sorry, not pause for reflection, Once Upon a Time into a Brazen Borrower, we can bounce Oko and Lucky Clover back to our hands, which is pretty nice. I think we're going to go for that because we really have time with all of these pause for reflections. And I just don't like him having the Oko, personally. So we'll bounce that. And we'll bounce that. And we will just continue to be annoying, essentially. So we're going to turn his Yarok, I believe, into a dude. Or, actually, I like holding up the... I like holding up a Brazen Borrower. Or playing a Brazen Borrower. I'm going to shock myself because I don't think my life total matters. It gives me some options on my opponent's turn. I'm going to play a Brazen Borrower at end of turn and start swinging, because that'll help me sort of whittle down to be in range to do a Beanstalk Giant kill. He's going to come swinging again. That's fine. He has to. I mean, there's no reason not to. I'm just going to pause for reflection again. Boop, boop, boop. Resolves. No blocks. Okay. You got it, dude. All right, flash in Brazen Borrower. I don't know what he's holding up. I don't know what his game plan is necessarily. I'm surprised he didn't play the Crisis, I guess. And we'll untap. Gilded Goose. We'll go ahead and swing in with this guy. I kind of have to once and future this turn, I think, and I'm pretty sure I want to get them both right to my hand, although it's actually not super relevant. So if I need to use my green mana this turn, I can do that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wish I could one Sand Future and play a Beanstalk Giant this turn. But I really think it's more likely that I'm just going to play Beanstalk Giant and Expansion Explosion and Fling all in the same turn. So I need 11 mana. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I play a Goose and I play Oko, I just need to draw another land, essentially, which I can do to set up that kill. So we'll play a Goose. We'll play Oko. I just need the 1 green mana. I don't know if any of his abilities are particularly relevant right now. So let's just go ahead and make a food token. And then we need to hold up this mana. Sounds good. Swinging with the boys. So we'll go ahead and once in future. Target that, auto pay. We'll play a pause for reflection. It's probably pretty annoying to play against, just having like, I mean, they're not playing any sort of counter magic in the main, I think, so me having just 4 free turns of setup, where I eventually just go over the heads of the zombies. It's probably not very nice for them. Hydroid Crisis for big. Okay. That life is kind of relevant, but I can make the Hydroid Crisis a elk and continue to fly over it with the Brazen Borrower. He's got dudes, many dudes. I've always got Flood of Tears if it comes to that, but I don't think it will. This turn, I think I'm just playing a Beanstalk Giant. I don't, no, I think I'm going to wait one more turn on the Beanstalk Giant because I really want to be able to do it all in one turn. Because if I tap out, play Beanstalk, and then he kills it, I only have the mana for the Fling. So I think I'm just going to try to draw a couple more cards. We'll play another Edgewall Innkeeper. We'll play a Fae of Wishes. Brazen Borrower is really neat. We're going to play another Fae of Wishes because we really just want to draw a land this turn. And then worst comes to worst, there's our land. Worst comes to worst, we're going to play another Gilded Goose. And even if he does somehow manage to kill all the Gilded Geese, I have the chance to draw another land and then still do my thing, as they say. So we're just going to pass again. Riveting gameplay, I know, this little back and forth setup situation, but I don't know if you recall, but he made all these zombies on like lethal zombies on like turn 6 or 7. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I feel pretty good about being able to just kind of grind this out. His board is way scarier than mine, but I think I'm still gonna get there. And if some shit goes down and I need to, I don't know, if I need to get a Chandra or something, I can always bounce Fave Wishes. But I think I just have the kill next turn. Finality. Okay, so this is kind of what I mentioned with the whole killing my birds thing. Do we have anything we want to do here? I can flash in a Brazen Borrower to draw 2 cards to hopefully hit that next land. I think that's it. I think that's the play. I think it's a little goofy. He's not really threatening me, and I really just want to be able to kill him next turn. So I'm gonna draw 2 cards, hopefully get a land, and I don't really care that my board is dying. Cool. All right, so I think we're sitting pretty. He's gonna put 2 counters on his Krasis or something. I don't know, or maybe Yarok. Agent of Treachery. That's fine. Golos. Okay. You got dudes. This is one of those situations where, like, if I had nothing else to do, I could play the Adventure Side of Flaxen Intruder and get 6 bears. And that's not, like, irrelevant. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant on this board, but I don't know if he feels like he has something to prove with all these zombies that he's making, but we're just going to play a land. We're going to fetch now so he doesn't have some way to respond. We are going to play our Beanstalk Giant, make sure the autopay lets us do everything we want. He can sacrifice the food token for 3 life, but we're dealing 22 damage to him with all of our lands. So I don't, yeah, that just puts him at 21. So we'll go ahead and fling, autopay. Sacrifice a creature. With fling on the stack, we're going to expansion. Autopay. Copying this. Same targets. And the copied value is still 11. And we're going to deal 22 damage to him. Which is just excellent, if you ask me. Cool. All right, that was a grind fest. That game was about 20 minutes long, and we got there, though. Magic is stuttering a little bit. Once again, there's really not a reason to sideboard. I mean, you could argue that, like, maybe I bring in something like Experimental Frenzy, something that's still good in the matchup, but I'm not super likely to grab, because I just have, like, other options, and I'm probably going to be setting up. But there's also really nothing in my main deck that I'm too excited to cut either. Possibly Flaxen Intruder, but I don't think there's a huge reason to. So we're just going to hit done again, and he'll be on the play this time. I don't think there's a huge difference for us between being on the play and being on the draw. Sometimes we have nut draws that are really good on the play, and we bury our opponent in value, and they just can't come back. But I think just the amount of versatility and options this deck has to offer, we can really win out of any situation, right? With the wish board and the combination of good spells and good creatures, and, like, all of our draws are either spells or creatures, so we just have a lot of options, a lot of play, and a lot of memes. Okay, this hand is good, I think. Lucky Clover into double Beanstalk Giant's really sick. Flaxen Intruder's not great. Oko's good. A little weird without the Goose. If I draw turn 1 Goose, I'm probably just going to go on that plan, the turn 2 Oko, and hold off on the Lucky Clover. I can wait a bit. But the Lucky Clover setup with the Beanstalk Giant is just so good. Beanstalk Giant by itself is fine. I don't think we're going to bother playing our little 1-2. I don't think he has a ton of relevant artifacts to destroy or enchantments to destroy besides Golos, who would just block the Flaxen Intruder anyway. So we're just going to play out our Lucky Clover. He's going to do his same little growth spiral thing and pass. He's trying to get the setup going. Next turn, I think we're definitely still just on the Beanstalk Giant plan, even though we have the Oko. I'm not feeling crazy pressured, and getting our ramp going sooner than later really gives us more options next turn. So we're going to grab a forest and a mountain, so we have access to all of our double colors. As far as draws that we would like to see in the next few turns, I would say Fey Wishes is always a positive. Maybe something like Bone Crusher Giant or the Edgewall Innkeeper. Just something that gets our lets us keep going, you know, because this guy's setting up and we don't love that. Brazen Borrower's not bad. Good options with Lucky Clover. I think this turn, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beanstalk Giant puts us back at 5, and then we can play Oko and then hold up Brazen Borrower. Sounds pretty good to me. Go ahead and auto pay. Let's go ahead and make sure we have enough blue to be able to play Mass Manipulation, and then we'll just get another mountain just in case. Usually we want an abundance of forests, but we're already pretty good there, so we'll play Oko, make sure the auto pay is letting us pay for Brazen Borrower's bounce effect, and let's just make a food token. You know? Sometimes that's all you need. I don't think there's a huge reason to make his Risen Reef a 3/3 elk. Obviously he does like getting the lands from his elemental triggers, but I think if he had that sort of setup, he would have done that last turn instead of playing Circuitous Route. Hydroid Krasis comes into play. Drawing some cards. Okay, he's getting some triggers. I'm thinking we're just going to bounce the Krasis and the zombie just for the tempo of it. I don't think there's a huge reason to wait on this. He doesn't have a ton of great bounce targets in the first place. Another option is to bounce the Risen Reef, but I don't feel super threatened by it. Bouncing the Krasis, obviously, it lets him replay it, but if he's spending his whole turn tapping out for the Krasis against us, I don't think we really care. So we'll let that happen. We'll just go ahead and bounce these. And honestly, I almost think we're on the bear train next turn. Bears block zombies. It's a known fact. Alternatively, we can play Beanstalk Giant and start setting up for a kill, which is also good. I mean, he's not making so many zombies that our bears are not going to get through. They are going to get through, which I like. Also, Brazen Borrower is an option. But I think it's either Flaxen Intruder or Giant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The thing about it is, like, the Giant will not likely get through with just an attack, and the bears are definitely going to get through at least some amount of damage. And we might as well play the Flaxen Intruder as well if we're going wide. And that's a good option to turn into an elk. Agent of Treachery. Taking my Oko. don't think that's a huge deal. Okay. What's he gonna do with his Oko? I think he... I don't know if making a food token's the way to go, but I suppose it's an option. Another Beanstalk Giant. Okay. Well, we have options this turn. I think most of our options are starting off with just playing Fertile Footsteps. Because it lets us do... I mean, it's essentially free with the Lucky Clover. Pulling a bunch of lands from our deck. Makes our Giants bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can play Oko and play a Brazen Borrower, or we can play Beanstalk Giant. I don't like just playing Beanstalk Giant because he has an Oko that I'm not really interested in killing. So I think I just like Oko, make my Flaxen Intruder a 3/3 Elk, and swing face because I'm in the beatdown car right now. And yeah, he's gonna trade and chump, or yeah, but he's taking a lot of damage here. Cool. And we'll pass and hold up Brazen Borrower. Yeah, sometimes the bears like come in clutch. It's not a bad play. 7 mana for 12/12 worth of stats. It's cute, and it's not always good, but when it's good, it's pretty good. Like sometimes they just don't have a way to deal with it. And if I have multiple Lucky Clovers in the field, like 9 bears, 12 bears, it gets pretty gross. Okay, so I'm going to flash in my Brazen Borrower. I think it's pretty likely that I'm turning his Hydroid Krasis into an Elk and swinging out. Or, no, that probably doesn't make as much sense. I really just need a mass of attackers, right? I think he's probably going to swap me. Take my 3/3 or something like that. That's fine. He just needs stuff on the field. So I think I'm just going to flash in Brazen Borrower, make my Lucky Clover, or if he gives me the food token, make the food token an Elk and swing out. Math is for blockers, as they say, but if we do some basic math, he has 5 creatures, I have 5 creatures plus a Brazen Borrower plus this. It'll put him at 1. He doesn't get to make a ton of favorable blocks. I think that's just fine. Another option would be to take something of his, but he doesn't really have particularly desirable creatures. Okay, makes his food token a 3/3. So now I definitely have lethal, right? I think that was incorrect of him. Unless I was doing my math wrong in the first place. No, he would have taken something. Oh, he's swinging at Oko. Oh, I forgot he still had a chance to swing. That's fine. I don't think that's, like, he is now tapped out. Like, that is way worse for him, actually. So I'm just going to swing at his face. We got bears, dude. Bears on parade. Cool. Another win, beat a Golos deck. Pretty happy about that. Kind of mentioned in the intro to the video that was one of my 50-50-ish matchups, but honestly that chain of fogs in the first game felt really good. It was a little boring to play because like I knew I had that eventuality, and there wasn't much he could do about it, but we still had to kind of go through the motions. Let's play at least one more game, I think, and then we'll call it. And then maybe I'll make a little Reddit post and see what's up. I really I'm making this video because I love this deck so much, and I feel like it has legs, and I want some feedback. I want some criticism. I want some, hey dumbass, you're making some really dumb choices with this deck. Maybe LSV will step in and make some comments about my dumbass deck building, but I also just want people to start playing this because it's so fun, and I think people really get a kick out of it. So I choose Gilded Goose over the turn 1 Edgewall Innkeeper. Kind of going in blind. We don't really know what we're against. I like the option of having that ramp. Plus, Edgewall Innkeeper is pretty valuable as a target, and a lot of people will just spend their cheap removal to get rid of him, or even their expensive removal to get rid of him. When he's good, he draws so many cards, and when I'm just playing him turn 1, in this deck, he's not likely to draw me a ton of cards. So I like kind of holding on to him until the typical pattern goes like set up with some Lucky Clovers, play the Adventures, and then play the Innkeeper, and then play the Creatures from Exile to reload. So it looks like we're against some kind of Flash variant. It's not super likely that this resolves, but I have another one, so I'm not too bummed out about it being countered. Okay. This is actually so sick against Flash, because even if he does counter one part, like the main thing, the copies still resolve, or the copies are still likely to resolve. Didn't play the Innkeeper again, even though I had the mana to, because I'm setting up for next turn where I can play another Lucky Clover and then ping 3 things, which against this deck, it's likely to be a 3-for-1, essentially, right? We'll go ahead and chump. Not really a chump, we'll just block. 3-for-1 where, oh, hell yeah, where it's really hard to do the math where, like, how much value is this generating, right? So I have a Lucky Clover on the field. Now I have 2 Lucky Clovers on the field. Now I have 2 Stomps, which are 6 Stomps, which could potentially kill 6 of his creatures if I play it out that way. And my Lucky Clovers are still on the field to generate a bunch of, like, this card is just infinite value, right? We are going to pass. Hopefully he taps out and flashes in another Brineborn Cutthroat, and I'll just go to town on him. And then, like, I have the Giants in Exile, which are still creatures, and Edgewall Innkeeper. Like, the grind in this deck is so crazy good. We're just going to do this now, because I don't want him to have any sort of shenanigans. I don't want him to be able to boost the power and toughness of his Cutthroats. And I'm pretty sure this just puts me infinitely ahead. Yeah, that's pretty good, I'll say. Okay, so we're back in a position where he has 4 mana, 3 cards, and potential candidates being the Wolf or the Frilled Mystic. I don't think there's a huge reason to just run it out of creature for it to be countered. I think I just like playing the Innkeeper and holding up the Bonecrusher Giant. Like, if that's where this goes, and then if he wants to counter it, fine. That's not like a huge deal either. There's no reason to rush this. There's no reason to just start firing this off in his face, I think. We're just going to wait and grind him out. There's the Wolfman. I think we're just going to kill this right now. I don't think there's a huge reason to like hold off and try to get a 2-for-1 or something. Like if he's down to this many cards, he's hurting for like he really wanted that wolf to stick. So hopefully we draw another green source, or just any land, and I'm able to play the Innkeeper and a giant. That is not the case. I'm just gonna play an Innkeeper. And I think there's almost an argument for just playing the Fae of Wishes here, just to draw 2 cards. We'll see what he does about this. The bounce side of Brazen Borrower is not supremely good in this matchup, but it's pretty good against the Wolves. Draw a couple cards. Start hitting our land drops. Another Brazen Borrower, land drop. Pretty cool. All right. I'd like to see a Beanstalk Giant pretty much always, just to have 7 lands on the field and keep going to town. We're not going to attack because he could have, obviously, some kind of flash creature. Hopefully he's just scrying, but I think it's pretty likely that he's at least playing like a Brineborn Cutthroat or a Wildborn Preserver or something like that, if not a wolf. Once Upon a Time, definitely grabbing something. Spectral Sailor, pretty good. I don't think it's good enough. He's kind of hurt, and he's only got 1 card in hand. I'm ahead on board and in the hand. I'd say, ooh. Ask and you shall receive, once again. With 2 Clovers on the field, playing this is just free. So, I'm always just going to do that, pretty much. Even if he counters one part of it, it's, you know, I'm still getting enough mana to be able to play a follow-up. So he's probably just going to leave it alone. Or a mountain. Grab a forest. And we'll grab an island. Groovy. We'll move to combat. I'm going to swing with the boys to bait something out. If he trades, that's fine. I'm already like way ahead. If he plays a wolf, I'll just bounce both of them and set him back. That's fine. He needs this more than I need this. Second main, we'll just play a giant. And another land for turn, which lets us hold up the Brazen Borrower bounce. Once again, in that weird situation where it's like, I'm not going to be able to get the... oh, that's a great draw. I'm not going to be able to get the full value out of the Brazen Borrower if he has like 1 or 2 things on the field because of the way the copying works and the, you know, it won't go on an adventure, essentially. But that's fine. With this position, a lot of the time, the tempo of just bouncing something is better than trying to get cute. He's going to flash in Frilled Mystic, which is pretty good for me. He's probably going to block the Innkeeper, but I think he probably should just trade with the Giant. He's taking a lot of damage. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going to let it happen. I don't really think there's a reason to bounce that back to his hand. And now we're going to play... We're going to play Beanstalk Giant, because that'll set up our next turn. Where we can go Granted, Fling, and Expansion all in one turn. Not that we need that, but, you know, if having the Giant on the field isn't enough. We still have the mana. Got to pay attention to that auto-tapping because of the mana cost of that expansion, but we're still good. Double blue, red. I don't know if he'll let this resolve. Let's grab expansion first. And then let's grab Veil of Summer. Why not? And fling. Okay, so that should do it. We're just going to go ahead and swing out. There's no reason not to. And if he plays something, we can just kill him at instant speed. He's blocking that giant. He's going to cast something. Cool. Okay. That's why we grabbed Veil of Summer, I guess. I mean, there's really not anything he can do about this. Expansion also... Oh, we're about to target our own giant. Expansion also acts as protection for the combo. Like, it just works, I think. It just works. He tries to negate. I could expansion if I only had 2 grabs, but I'm just going to Veil of Summer. It really doesn't matter. Cool. And then he scoops. All right. Once again, no sideboard plan. My MTGA is freezing up a little bit for some reason. No sideboard plan. Some cards that we haven't grabbed so far. Just this is, in terms of my game to game, this is the thing I like to keep in mind. We haven't played a ton of matches, but have not grabbed Experimental Frenzy. We have not grabbed... I think we have grabbed Deshandra. I don't know. Haven't grabbed Return to Nature. Haven't grabbed Ashiok or the Great Henge yet. Maybe we've grabbed it. Or Sorcerer's Spyglass. Weirdly enough, Sorcerer's Spyglass is one of the... Also one of my considerations for cutting. It's so, like, fine. There's, like... I don't know. I'm iffy on it now that I think about it more. Because a lot of the time I want to be advancing my own game plan rather than being reactive. The cards like Mass Manipulation solve the problem and get me closer to winning. This is just like solving one thing, which I don't always love. So maybe we'll revisit that. But as for now, no sideboard plan is our sideboard plan. All right. So we're playing against Flash. We have kind of a slow hand. If we had a Lucky Clover, we could get things going. My initial inclination is that this is a mulligan. Turn 1, Edgewell Innkeeper into turn 2. Flaxen Intruder, just for the draw, is like okay. But it's not very exciting. If we mulligan, we could definitely have a better hand. This has potential, like if I do draw a Clover in some action, but I'm not excited about it. Now this is a hand I can get behind, so we're going to keep it. I think the worst card in our hand, or the card we're least excited about, is either the Goose or the Lovestruck Beast. I don't know. This hand is so keepable if any of these cards were missing. I don't know. In this matchup, I do like Edgewell Innkeeper because I get value even if my stuff gets countered. Same with Lucky Clover. Goose is a little loose, so I think we're just gonna dump the Goose. I don't know if we seriously need it here. In this matchup, I think we're playing Edgewell Innkeeper turn 1 because I don't think they have a good way to remove it. Playing a Forest turn 1's a little weird. I don't know what he's playing that for. Okay. We're not swinging. We're just going to play a Breeding Pool and play a Lucky Clover. If he counters it, I'm not thrilled, but, you know, I can't just hang out. I'm going to make him have it. And if he counters it, he doesn't have any sort of setup. A lot of this time, this deck wants to have a creature on the board to make the counter spells generate essentially extra turns, right? To be able to keep swinging. If he's just countering on an empty board, he's not really advancing his game plan at all. Okay. We're going to pay 2 life. We are going to... Any time I get to go turn 2 Lucky Clover into turn 3 Beanstalk Giant, I'm feeling really good. Yeah, he could counter one part of this, and that's not great for me, but I still have action. I'm going to grab a forest. And I might grab another forest. I think I will, just to be able to play both of these things. We'll play Gilded Goose. I don't think the order of this really matters. I don't think he's going to spend his mana countering any of this. I think he's just going to play another creature or play a Once Upon a Time. Lovestruck Beast. He's so weirdly vanilla. He's just a stats guy. Like, having 2 1/1s for 1 with the Lucky Clover on the field is a playable card. It doesn't necessarily always feel like it synergizes with this deck, but having the extra blockers to set up, to give me more time to set up is great. Being able to turn the 1/1s into 3/3s is fine. And then just having the Lovestruck Beast as a cheap, good blocker, trades very well with a lot of the aggressive creatures in this format. Blocks the Questing Beast very well. Blocks a lot of... just a good blocker. Good attacker, too. He's just fine. He doesn't do anything flashy. Okay. He has mana for things and stuff. I don't really feel pressured. He's going to get a wolf on the field or something. If he wants to spend his time frilled mysticking my Lovestruck Beast, that's like not the end of the world either. I don't think I'm going to play the Fave Wishes this turn. I don't think I have a huge reason to. There's potential for a Fave Wishes, great Henge setup somewhere, which would be really good against this deck, I think. I think we're just going to play Love's Desire, Heart's Desire. I need to learn the names of all of the adventure portions. I don't think we're going to attack, so I'm just doing this on my main phase. I don't really care. Frilled Mystic. Okay, whatever. I'm still drawing a card. So it's net neutral. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the other Lovestruck Beast. And we're going to get our second red mana online in case we need to grab a Chandra. Sacrifice of food. Lovestruck Beast is a great, efficient blocker, as I've said. Another Lucky Clover is pretty cool. Let's just grab 3 cards from our sideboard. I'd say we're feeling pretty good. He has a lot more cards in his hand currently, but our ceiling is just so high. The Spike in me says, play the Lucky Clover, play the Fae of Wishes. The Johnny in me says, you got to go in all on these Lucky Clovers, man. Can you imagine 4 cards from our sideboard? That's so good, dude. Let's go ahead and swing. Why not? I don't really care if he trades. If he wants to spend his mana on doing something to my Lovestruck Beast, nothing in the world. I wonder how many Brazen Borrowers this deck is playing now. I don't think I've seen any Flash decks playing it, or at least they haven't played it against me. But I'm pretty sure the standard lists that are doing well on MTGO and in paper, etc., are playing some number of Brazen Borrowers. So if he wants to just bounce my Left Struck Beast, I don't really think that's the end of the world. If he wants to just trade, that's fine too. I've already gotten value out of it. If he somehow plays 3 things, I don't think that's happening. Okay. Is he just taking it? Why'd he flash that in if he's just taking it? Okay. We're going to play Lucky Clover. Type like that. And we're going to play another Lucky Clover, because why not? We can hold up, make a food, and grab about 10 million cards from our sideboard next turn. Plus, like, if we just draw Stompy Giant, that just wins us the game. Like, 3 Lucky Clovers just puts us into absurdity territory, where all of our plays are big and beautiful and majestic and game winning. Can you imagine 4? Could you imagine 4 1/1s? 4 1/1 humans, you say? Now that would just be crazy. Balance his board. Generate mana with a Beanstalk Giant, Fertile Footsteps. That's interesting. Once upon a time, Mystic Sanctuary. I don't think I've ever seen people trying Mystic Sanctuary in the Flash deck. All right. I don't think he has a reason to attack. I mean, he probably should swing with the 5/4, but I guess I would happily take that trade. So I don't know. I think he might see me go for the Fave Wishes, and he might scoop. We'll see. All right, YOLO. Oh, it's so good. It's so good every time. Even if I don't have like targets in my head of what I want to grab, it's so good every time. We're just gonna grab our kill setup again, and then we have a 4th card. I think that probably should be the Great Henge. Like, what is he going to do about this now? I don't think he's going to do much of anything. Let's go ahead and play this and play our Fave Wishes. And we'll hold up Expansion and Veil of Summer, or Expansion or Veil of Summer. Or Once Upon a Time. Okay. Works out pretty well. I don't think No, I did just play land. So we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, 6, 7, 8. We will not attack this time. And I think we're hoping that we just have an opportunity to Veil of Summer or something, or not. I don't think we're just gonna throw out a Once Upon a Time. Because I think we want that food token for future mana use. That's why the Gilded Goose is a little weird. There was I think it was a Reddit thread or Aether Gust. Okay. I think that's something we don't care about. I don't think we care about that. You can do that. That's fine. There's a post about Gilded Goose should be a food itself, or a comment thread or something. And I don't think it would be too powerful at that point. It'd be good flavor, obviously, and it would just make my goose feel so much smoother to use. Like, there are turns where it's just like, I have to take a turn off to make a food to be able to have the mana to combo on the next turn. It's like, if I could just sack the goose this turn, that'd be so sick. If he attacks, we just chump. I'm pretty sure we're sitting pretty once again. We have Veil of Summer to hold up to counter his counter if he wants to counter our Beanstalk Giant. And there's really not much he could do about this, I would say. I think he needs to be swinging. I don't know why he's not. We'll play a Beanstalk Giant. Okay. He is attempting to Sinister Sabotage it. I will pay to prevent that. And we'll see if he just has another counterspell. He may or may not, but if he does, I think his well has run pretty dry. And we are too deep in the value train for him to be able to come back. If he doesn't, then that's great. Then I land a giant, I draw a card, and ooh, that's 8 damage. That's 8 damage. So even with just this, even if he does have some answer to that Beanstalk Giant, I'm pretty sure he's dead next turn anyway. We'll swing for 1 in the air. Why not? All right, this is looking like a neat little package. I think Richard the Lionheart is on his last legs. Not gonna lie. Grabs a forest. Why? Was that his only option? Did he have a bunch of instants and sorceries? Gosh, that sucks. Ugh. Okay. We will play that. We will fling this man. And even if he does counter one of the flings, I still get to copy my fling and deal 8 with Bone Crusher Giant. So, like, this is for sure it. And counter magic just is not good against these copy effects. Like, I feel like if he had the opportunity to counter these early Lucky Clovers, he should have. But maybe he just couldn't. Oh. That's hexproof from blue and black. That doesn't stop what I'm doing. Was he just going for a redraw? I guess. All right. 3 pretty straightforward games. I mean, aside from that Golos field match, which was pretty crazy. 2 matches against Flash of some sort. A match against Golos. I'd like to show a match against, like, aggro. But let's play a couple best of ones. Because I just want to... Don't look at that one. I just want to see if we can show a little more variety in our matches, just to have a nice idea of what this deck is capable of across the board. So let's hope Fubuki Mix is playing something a little faster, perhaps a little more red. This hand is pretty killer, I would say, so we're just going to keep it. We have turn 1, Shock himself, holding up Opt, I guess. It's a little weird. We're just going to play the Innkeeper. I don't always do this, but going in blind. Okay, Spectral Sailor. I wonder if this is blue-white Fliers, which I would consider an aggressive matchup, so I'm excited to play against this, unless it's just some sort of counter magic variant. I'm gonna swing. I don't know what he could have, but if he wants to trade a Brineborn for my 1/1, yeah, we'll play a Lucky Clover. He doesn't care. Cool. So next turn we have one of my favorite turns in this deck. Okay. Where I get to play a Beanstalk Giant and then follow it up with Double Stomp, which is pretty sick. We're going to grab our blue mana. Actually, we don't get to do that because I am kind of dumb, but it's not a huge deal. I don't have great stomp targets quite yet anyway. I would just 1-for-1 the Eagle, so I kind of like getting another Innkeeper on the field anyway. So that is no problemo. He's coming in hot. Okay. So it's time to throw out some stomps. I think we're just going to stomp down on his boys in blue. Rally of Wings. Sure. In that case, I'm going to turn his Eagle into an Elk, because we kind of need to stem the bleeding at this point. The Anthem effect is pretty strong. And if he turns and kills my Oko, that's effectively gaining me 5 life, so swinging out. Do I want to chump? Do I care about holding out Oko? Yeah, I think I do, because I want to turn that Eagle into an Elk as well. Ooh. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's crush some more bones, I guess. Play it. Like the low to the ground removal of the Bone Crusher Giant is so killer. Like just being able to 2-for-1 or 2-for-2 at first and then get more additional value. It's just so good. So much versatility. We're going to go ahead and turn this into an Elk as well. And then I'm almost willing to give up the Oko. Well, now that he's shown me this, I'm less willing to give up the Oko. So I'm just going to trade. I do want to turn that into an Elk. Yes, please. Sick. We'll just play a Giant, and we'll hold up some stomps. We're going to take the trade here. And he's dead. Cool. Okay. That worked out pretty well. That hand was really good. I drew a bunch of Giants, so let's play one more. Best of one. But you saw how we've been grindy in the long matchups. We've been toe-to-toe in the tempo matchups. We've been able to stem the pressure, stem the bleeding in the aggressive matchup there. And we can be the aggro, we can be the control. It's all pretty good. I think we're going to keep this one. It's not like my favorite hand, but on the play, going turn 1 Innkeeper, or even just turn 1 Lovestruck Beast like token, and then double Innkeeper and then Lovestruck Beast. That's all pretty good. I think turn 1 Innkeeper's a little better, although it is a bigger magnet for removal. Okay. If I'm seeing a Temple of Mystery, I'm not too worried about this thing dying right away. We'll go turn 2 Innkeeper. Lovestruck Beast token. And then I think we're going to just play a beast to draw 2. Like, yeah, that's so good. I don't think there's a reason to get cute and try to, like, play Beanstalk Giant ramp and play a 1/1. I think we just want to keep the pressure going, and then we'll offer the trade. Thank you. I don't think he's going to trade, because typically decks want their Paradise Druid. Yeah, things are not looking great for him. If he goes Nissa next turn, it's a little annoying, but I think we're in a pretty good position. Little Brazen Borrower. I could bounce his Leafkin Druid, which is rude, but it's an option. Just keep the pressure going. I think we're going to do that. I think I'm going to play Beanstalk Giant to grab another land. I'll just go with another island. Bounce his Leafkin Druid and swing in, because this will deny him a little bit of mana for next turn, and we just keep the pressure up. Yeah, not looking so good for our man here. Tone Bone, I'm sorry, dude. Now I don't think it hugely matters what we do. I think we play creatures and draw cards. I'm just going to play this first. I know I can flash it in. I'm just going to play it now to see what sort of options we have coming up. Okay. We'll swing out. A head on board, a head in hand, head on life totals, just like winning in all sort of measures. Trades the Druid finally, because he's desperate. Chumps with the guy, and then I'd say we're looking pretty good. Let's just go ahead and make a 1/1. And we'll shock him at the end of turn and swing out. I don't really think there's anything Tone Bone can do. This groovy. Too little, too late, I'd say. Untaps an island. Swings. Oh, right. I forget his vigilance. Okay. Gain 3. Okay. We will shock his face. And then we will swing all out indiscriminately. So Brazen Borrower is going to get through, and a 1/1 is going to get through, and then I just shock his face again. Easy peasy, nothing to it. Blocks the beast with the 2/1/2. Well, that just doesn't make sense. Whatever. Bang. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it here. So we played 3 best of 3s, and we played 3 best of 1s, or 2 best of 1s. I don't remember. That's the deck, Temur Adventures. You saw some crazy combo turns. You saw us fling giants at face, which I love to do. And you saw just a bunch of value and a lot of versatility. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. I hope to see this deck sort of start popping up, or I hope to see some discussion about weaknesses, or reasons not to play this deck. I will say, for sure, the black adventures are very good. And if you're playing the green-black variant, that is just straight up more of an aggressive, just play some creatures and get some redraws, not necessarily, the value from the adventures are somewhat incidental. Kudos, that's a good deck too. I think that is certainly viable and possibly more competitively viable than this. But if you want some fun play, some play in every matchup, as far as I can tell, I have not felt like there have been matches where it's just like completely hopeless, especially with in the best of 1 where you have access to your wish board, gives you it's just a huge advantage. Being able to have these somewhat silver bullet-y cards in those specific matchups, or in the best of 3 where you're just playing a good deck, right? Like you get the value of playing the creatures. You have an aggressive game plan. You have a combo game plan. You have a value grindy game plan. Like, I think this deck has legs. Let me know if you build this deck on MTGA in paper, MTGO, and what successes you're finding with it, what works, what doesn't. Shout out to Saffron Olive, well-known content creator. He originally played a deck which inspired this for me, which was Temur Adventure Storm, or what it may have just been red-green, where similar sort of skeleton with the innkeepers and the clovers and the giants and the whatnot, but he was trying to generate a bunch of mana with Rosethorn Acolyte, and 1,000-Year Storm, and just giant someone in the face, stomp someone in the face 10 times. I think that deck has a lot of inconsistencies, and having played that a bunch too, I think this is just the better version where you're able to play a less memey, more legitimate game plan in the main board and have that combo finish if you need it, with the Fling and Expansion Explosion. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I don't know if I plan on ever doing another deck video. I'm just really passionate about this one, and I just want to get the word out. So, bye.